Hey, it's Kwesi Millington here, speaker and coach, and today is about Q&A, how to handle Q&A at the end of your presentation. First off, before I get started, if you haven't already, I provide tips all the time, so make sure you like this video and subscribe to my channel below. Now, when it comes to Q&A, a lot of people mess it up, and there's going to be 4 tips you're going to pick up here that are going to help you when it comes to Q&A, whether you're giving a presentation or a keynote or a meeting. Understanding how to handle Q&A is essential to making sure that your presentation is memorable and it doesn't go out of control. Your first tip is don't end with the Q&A. Yes, you want to do a Q&A, but remember this, I'm going to come back to this often. You want to make sure that you have control of the end of your presentation. Your last words linger, so make sure that you're in control at the very end. Q&A, then you close. Second tip is how many or how long. Before you get into your Q&A, tell them how many questions you're going to take or how long you're going to take. If you're watching this, if this resonates with you, put a comment below which of these you prefer, how many or how long. You can either say, I'm going to take 3 questions before I close, or I'm going to have 10 minutes of questions before I close. That way there's an expectation, and then you say before I close. That tells your audience that something else is coming after the Q&A that really is going to wrap up the presentation. Step 3 is you want to control your session, there we go again, with what I call R&R. Respond and relate. When you get asked the question, the first thing to do is respond and repeat the question. So respond to the person. So I have you correct. Let me just repeat your question. And that way you respond to that person that asked the question and you repeat it to the audience so that they all hear what has been asked. Next, you want to relate. Once you've answered the question, say back to that person, does that answer your question? Before I move on, is your question answered? You're establishing control again. You're relating back to the person that you care about answering their question and you're getting that feedback from them. Finally, use the assume and insert rule. Assuming that there are questions goes like this. You don't say, do you have any questions? You say, what questions do you have? Assume there are questions. A lot of times when you say, are there any questions? There may be crickets in the room. You may not get anything, but if you say, what questions do you have? You're having that assumptive answer, that assumptive question that gets people thinking, okay, well, he thinks I must have some questions, so I'll ask a question. That normally gets the oils going, the gears going, and people will start asking questions. If that fails, use the insert method. Think of a question that you get asked often and tell them, oh, no questions? Well, one question that I get asked often, and you may have that question too, is, and then fill in the blank with a question. So you have to go in prepared, knowing a question you get asked often. And what happens is when you start that going, you answer that question that you get asked often, you give your audience time to think of their own questions, and that will get that Q&A session flowing. So make sure you use those 4 Q&A tips to help your presentation Q&A go much better, and it establishes control for you at the end of your presentation. You end with the last word. If this made sense to you, share it with people you know, like it, and also subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I'll see you for the next video.